She had all the signs of wealth: gold, diamonds, rubies, emeralds.
Hello, my friends. Thank you for tuning in this week. And this is episode 34, Revelations 18, which depicts the fall of Babylon the Great. Let's shall I read it? After these things, I saw another angel descending from heaven with great authority, and the earth was lighted up from his glory. And he cried out with a strong voice, saying, She has fallen, Babylon the Great has fallen, and she has become a dwelling place of demons and a lurking place of every unclean exhalation, and a lurking place of every unclean and hated bird. For, because of the wine of the anger of her fornication, all the nations have fallen victim, and the kings of the earth committed fornication with her. And the traveling merchants of the earth became rich due to the power of her shameless luxury. And I heard another voice out of heaven say, Get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share with her in her sins, and if you do not want to receive part of her plagues. For her sins have massed together clear up to heaven, and God has called her acts of injustice to mind. Render to her even as she herself rendered, and do to her twice as much, yes, twice the number of the things she did in the cup, in which she put a mixture, but twice as much of the mixture for her. To the extent that she glorified herself and lived in shameless luxury, to that extent give her torment and mourning, for in her heart she keeps saying. I had to turn off the air conditioner because it's so noisy. Right away I start sweating again. To the extent that she glorified herself and lived in shameless luxury, to that extent give her torment and mourning. For in her heart she keeps saying, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and I shall never see mourning. That is why in one day her plagues will come, death and mourning and famine, and she will be completely burned with no fire. And she will be completely burned with fire, because Yahweh God, who judged her, is strong. And the kings of the earth who committed fornication with her and lived in shameless luxury will weep and beat themselves in grief over her when they look at the smoke from the burning of her, while they stand at a distance because of their fear of her torment, and say, Too bad, you great city, Babylon, you strong city, because in 1 hour your judgment has arrived. Also the traveling merchants of the earth are weeping and mourning over her, because there is no one to buy their full stock anymore. A full stock of gold and silver and precious stone and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet. Everything is in scented wood, and every sort of ivory object, and every sort of object out of most precious wood, and of copper, and of iron, and of marble. Also cinnamon and Indian spice, and incense, and perfumed oil, and frankincense, and wine, and olive oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and cattle and sheep, and horses and coaches and slaves, and human souls. Yes, the fine fruit that your soul desired has departed from you, and all the dainty things and the gorgeous things have perished from you, and never again will people find them. The traveling merchants of these things who became rich from her will stand at a distance because of their fear of her torment, and will weep and mourn, saying, too bad, the great city, clothed with fine linen and purple and scarlet, and richly adorned with gold ornament and precious stone and pearl. Because in 1 hour great riches have been devastated. And every ship captain, and every man that voyages anywhere, and sailors, and all those who make a living by the sea, stood at a distance, and cried out as they looked at the smoke from the burning of her, and said, what city is like the great city? And they threw dust upon their heads, and cried out, weeping, mourning, and said, too bad, the great city, in which all those having boats at sea became rich by reason of her costliness, because in 1 hour she has been devastated. Be glad over her, O heaven, also you holy ones, you apostles, and you prophets, because God has judicially exacted punishment for you from her. And a strong angel lifted up a stone like a great millstone, and hurled it into the sea, saying, thus with a swift pitch will Babylon the great city be hurled down, and she will never be found again. And the sound of singers who accompany themselves on the harp, and of musicians, and of flautists, and of trumpeters, will never be heard in you again. And no craftsman of any trade will ever be found in you again, and no sound of a millstone will ever be heard in you again, and no light of a lamp will ever shine in you again, and no voice of a bridegroom and of a bride will ever be heard in you again, because your traveling merchants were the top-ranking men of the earth. For by your spiritistic practice all the nations were misled. Yes, in her was found the blood of prophets and of holy ones, and of all those who have been slaughtered on the earth. Oh, that's the end of Revelation 18. Let's see if there's some concordance notes. Satan's reign will not be long, but it will be horrendous. In Revelation chapter 18, this records the end of the delusion of Satan and his host of worshippers, as well as the destruction of his earthly headquarters. Oh, I have to open this. Babylon, in all its religious, political, and economic glory, will be reduced to an ash heap by one with greater authority and glory. The Greek word translated fallen describes an instantaneous action. God will destroy the city decisively in the course of 1 hour. This verse echoes a prophecy from Jeremiah 51:7 actually. Babylon will be famous around the world as the most enlightened and liberated city on the planet, giving free rein to all forms of immorality and depravity. The Greek word rendered reached in this passage literally means to be glued or welded together. But in this context, it means to come in contact with, touch. The city's sins will be so vast that they touch the heavens, a likely allusion to the Tower of Babel. That's hard to imagine, but I guess it can happen. Yes, it can happen if something like the Jews being slaughtered in Auschwitz, Chinese being slaughtered by Mao Tse-tung, any big massive events with so many people screaming and crying that it can disturb the angels in heaven and God. In the end times, the pride of Nebuchadnezzar will live again in the ruler of the final Babylon, a city that will provide a platform for the most evil tyrant the world has ever known. Like that ancient monarch, this future ruler will also view himself as immortal and invincible. But his towering pride will be toppled as surely as Nimrod's tower was. The loss of this capital of sin will cause the leaders of the world to weep as much for their loss as for hers. They have relied on Babylon for their success and well-being. Now it is gone. However, they will be standing at a distance for fear of her torment. They don't want to get caught up in the punishment of God. Because they benefit financially from Babylon's power, the merchants and the mariners of the earth will mourn when the economic hub of the world is gone. In the midst of the destruction, Babylon's inhumanity, merchandise of bodies and souls of men, this trafficking in these evil things is judged. This final system of commerce championed by the beast will dehumanize humankind, as any system without God will do. This catalog of 28 items forms the basis for the end-time economic commerce. The list includes the various material possessions for which people have labored, schemed, and become enslaved throughout history, which makes it symbolic of humankind's perennial pursuit of extravagant wealth. Even though John lists commodities that were significant in his day, it is amazing to see how timeless they are, even to the end of the age. Three classes of people. Oh, wait a second. What did I just read? Commodities and the richness in commodities. I was thinking about that today. A lot of evil people prosper and give me, in my own personal experience, give me a hard time, give my brothers a hard time, while they're living extravagant lives. And then I was thinking about Paul and Mary and Joseph and John the Baptist. We live in America. We live like kings compared to the way they did. We have running water, air conditioners, cars, washing machines, all the appliances and stuff. We live like kings compared to those guys. But how much more holy they were. Like Paul, he was suffered and tortured and beaten. And all the apostles had a hard time. Just count yourself, when you're thanking God, thank God that we are living so richly. Even the poorest person in America, even the prisoners in prison, live better than they did. And three classes of people on earth: monarchs, merchants, and mariners. They mourn the judgment of Babylon. But three classes of people in heaven, saints, apostles, and prophets, are called upon to rejoice. Unrestrained jubilation breaks forth as the people of God are at last vindicated, and retribution is meted out to the city that had persecuted and martyred them. These evil people are going to suffer for the rest of eternity, while we are celebrating and giving thanks to God and worshiping God, and just having a great time together in a worldwide Garden of Eden. It's going to be awesome. Awesome. The word anymore is used 6 times. In Greek, this is the strongest term to express not at all. Never again will human joy exist in Babylon. What a picture of final desolation. When God judges, his judgment is sure and swift and final. So that's it for Revelations 18 this week, episode 34. I'll wrap it up. Let me read you our little inspirational prayer here. Remember to give God thanks. That's what I think we were created for. He wants us to pray to him and be grateful for the good lives we're leading, and for any gifts he's given us, and especially for where we're going after the rapture, in the millennial reign, and then afterward. So until then, Philippians 4 verse 8, finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely or admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. You could end suffering today. Just think about good things. Don't think about bad things. They're everywhere. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, there's things you can do about it, but just keep focused on being grateful and being happy, and anything that is, like they say, noble, praiseworthy, pure, think about those things instead. You're not going to help anybody if you're sad and depressed. Sadness and depression, it snowballs. It gets worse and worse, because whatever you think about, you bring about. You're thinking about being sad, you're attracting more of it to your life. Think about good things, you'll attract more good things to your life. When somebody does something bad to me, I just think, all right, I'm going to do good things. They're doing bad things. They're going to punish themselves. I don't have to do anything. So I just smile and go on. Don't let it trigger you. Okay, folks, have a great week, and thank you very much for tuning in, both of you. And God bless you, and I'll see you later.